Hello and welcome to the Boys Upstairs Show. This is the Week 10 NFL show.
Woo!
Welcome back, everybody. We made it double digits. I have some data here to present to start the show off. Unbelievable data. Last week, week 9, favorites were 14-1 straight up, with the lone loss being the New Orleans Saints to the Carolina Panthers, which was the one leg of my parlay that did not hit. Game 1 on the slate, we're going to break some history here. We're going to pick the Steelers game, which we've never done on this show. It used to be 3 of us. Now only 2 of us are pretty big Steelers fans. So we thought that it would be too much implicit bias. But because of guys like Sam and Cam and Nickson, who are also diehard fans for their team, going on, long monologues about their team, why not us? Why not the Steelers game too? And this game happens to be one of the best games on the slate this week. We've got the 6-2 Steelers going to Washington, playing the surprise team of the league, Washington Commanders, who are 7-2. Commanders are -3. Total's 45.5. We'll give it to Sean.
Thank you, Tommy. Like he said, Steelers, we only pick once in a blue moon. I think last time we picked them was maybe for the wild card game in the playoffs last year. We
Yeah,
don't pick them in like we have to pick them. We acquired Mike Williams and Preston Smith, who needed another receiver, and depth on the D line always helps. The Commanders look pretty tough, but Russ is cooking, as they say. The Commanders' rush defense is not the best. I think it might be last, actually, and Najee's coming off 3 back-to-back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, so I expect a big game out of him. And our whole offense is run, which opens up the pass game, play action to Pickens. So I think that'll work nicely with our scheme. So give me the Steelers +3, and that's that.
Commanders are 28th against the run, so bottom 5 of the league, bottom 4.
I was close.
Yeah, you were close. Good data.
He made a lot of good points. Commanders are terrible against the run, which we saw when they played the Ravens. The Ravens kind of ran all over them with Derrick Henry and and Lamar. So that's something that the Steelers could definitely do to attack. But one thing that I will note, the Steelers made a couple of good moves, getting Preston Smith and Mike Williams, but the Commanders also made a splash move in their secondary, getting Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. I feel like that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup with him and Pickens, especially, Marshawn's first week there in Washington. I feel like he's going to want to try to make a statement against one of the best young receivers in the NFL. So I'm going to go ahead and take – shoot, this is a toss-up for me, man. I'm honestly going to go against my gut, and I'm going to take the Steelers because I just think it's going to come down to – it's going to be a close game. Steelers going to control clock like they always do. And I trust the Steelers defense to get an important stop before I trust the Commanders defense to get an important stop. So I'm going to go with the Steelers just based off of that.
My record speaks for itself. Nickson brought up a great point in that, the Commanders and the Steelers were able to kind of harvest some wins early on in the year. Schedule was relatively easy and the back half is a little bit more daunting. So 45.5 on a Steelers game is way too high. Not touching either side here. I think the smart money is going to be on the under. Don't know if it was set at 45.5, if it's moved already, whatever it may be. The Steelers haven't faced a quarterback like Jaden Daniels yet. Frankly, because the only other quarterback similar to him would be Lamar Jackson, who they actually faced a week after. Which will be an interesting game. So I don't know if they're going to struggle to contain him or what they'll do. Peyton Wilson is usually their speed linebacker that they'll use to kind of shadow him. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Russell Wilson will have opportunities to air it out against the lackluster secondary. And like you said, they have the 28th worst rushing defense in the NFL. So Najee's been very hot. I think it'll be a ground and pound sort of game for the Steelers. They'll probably win, but not going to touch them. But just give me the under here.
Two teams, as I'm looking at the Commanders' schedule this year, that have been able to hold their offense in check. Two teams the Commanders have played against, and those two teams were the Ravens and the Chicago Bears. We don't have to talk about that game, but it is not biased to say that they held their offense in check, as the only touchdown was that Hail Mary. So it'll be interesting to see how Daniels, who's been lighting the world on fire, kind of deals with a veteran defense that seems to kind of just conquer anyone that they face. But at the same time, they've been explosive. They've been proving everyone wrong all year. I don't think deadline acquisitions are really going to make too much of an impact in this game. I don't think the Commanders, well, Lattimore is one thing. He's going to play right away, and corners do what corners do. For the Steelers, I don't know how much of an impact Mike Williams is going to make right away. That being said, the Steelers are a good football team. They've gotten something going offensively. They've started to let George Pickens cook, which is interesting that I said Lattimore because he just got there. So they're probably going to be matched up a little bit. You'll see some of those deep balls a little bit more contested. I'm going to go with the Steelers here. 3 points just feels like a lot, and this seems like a game the Steelers are going to win. And Martin nailed on the head. 45 points for a Steelers game is kind of ridiculous. And I know it's the Commanders, very explosive offense. I don't see a world in which Mike Tomlin prepares his team to win this game by scoring, just by outscoring the Commanders throughout the entire thing. I think this is going to be ground and pound. It's going to be nitty gritty. It's going to come down to who wants it more. I think that's going to be the Steelers. In the end of the day, nothing against the Commanders, but I mean, boy, are both teams playing well right now. It'll be fun to watch, but give me the Steelers, and this is not going over.
I'll jump in. I agree on the under. I think that's the bet of this game for sure. I have some data to back it up. Over the last 5 years, Tomlin's record to the under on the road is hitting it like a 70% clip. And to add to that, the Steelers defense is getting some guys back. They're getting Nick Herbig back, edge rusher. He's a bright young superstar in the making. Not to mention we're getting Cam Sutton off of suspension. He's on the Lions last year, had some off-field issues. But he's a good, solid corner, and that'll help. Not to mention Cordell Patterson, who's a weapon in the offensive game. He's playing very well. He's probably our best running back before he got hurt. Nobbs has definitely turned it up in the last few games. However, Jaden Daniels struggles under pressure. He's 29 out of 36 qualified quarterbacks that qualify for being under pressure this year. Steelers bring pressure. Steelers defense brings pressure. Commanders offense also hasn't, necessarily, they have been elite, but they haven't necessarily played like Sam was talking about. Too many great defenses. They've had the 5th easiest schedule of opposing defenses so far this season. I'm just going to take the under here. Steelers also have more data here. I get a lot of notes for this game. Steelers are plus 76 in the second half through 9 games this year, while Washington is 21st in the league in second half points. So Steelers are a second half team. They make adjustments. Commanders, not so much.
Ready for this? I'm going to take the over. I feel like Russ has been cooking, as Sean said. So far in his 2 games, they have put up 26 and 37. Again, it was against the 2 New York teams. But those are still, those are great numbers for the Steelers. They have been putting up points. Commanders defense, like everyone's been talking about, hasn't been great. They added Lattimore. He just got there, though. You don't know how much he's going to play, how much of an impact he's going to have. But I think I think Russ is going to keep cooking, and I think Jaden Daniels is going to surprise some people. I'm not saying he's going to score 30, 40, but I think he's going to put up enough. I think he's going to put up enough. I think Russ is going to continue to cook. He's fighting for either a roster spot on the Steelers next year or somewhere next year. So he's locked in as ever. So I feel like the over. I feel like this seems like an easy under, but I think the over is going to hit, and I'm going to take the Commanders. I just feel like they've got like young, explosive excitement. And, the Steelers, you kind of know what you're going to get from the Steelers. Russ going to throw a couple 50-50 balls. Najee either going to run for 100 or he's going to run for about 10. And I feel like you kind of know what you're getting with the Steelers. Good defense, run the ball, maybe a couple bombs from Russell Wilson. The Commanders, you don't know what's going to happen. Is Jalen Daniels going to run? Is he going to launch it? Are they going to suck? Like, you really don't know for them. So I'm going to take them. I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people this week. I feel like even though the Commanders are favored, I believe, I feel like they're still being thought about pretty widely as like not supposed to win this game. And I think that people are thinking this is a trap line, but I think it's just a straight up Commanders win. So I'm going to take the Commanders and the over.
One thing I also forgot to mention that hasn't been mentioned yet, which I think is relevant data. Tomlin's record against rookie quarterbacks, 24-6, including this year against Bo Nix.
Let me give you some other data. Villanova just lost to fucking Columbia. We suck again.
I'll take Washington here. I don't think this is an offensive game, and I just don't think the Steelers has what it takes. They don't have the weapons, they don't have the offensive intensity to keep up in this game. So it's easy to take the Washington here. I don't know about the over. Honestly, that was a bold pick by Coby, but I do think Marshawn Lattimore, if he does play, he is going to make a remarkable stamp for this defense. They need him tremendously, so I don't see why he wouldn't play. But that's a great pickup for Washington. They lack literally the only thing they lack on this team is DB presence. Um, Everything else is perfect for them. And the Steelers, if you can lock them up a little bit, you basically win the game if you just score more than 20, 28 points. So Washington -3.
Game 2 on the slate. Sunday Night Football. Best team in the NFL. Detroit Lions are going to Houston. Texans are 6-3. Lions are 7-1. Lions are favorites on the road, -3.5. Total's 49.5. We'll give it to Coby.
Taking the Texans, I know the Lions have been probably the hottest team in football. You know, their running back duo, I forget what people are calling them. It's like the two video game characters or whatever.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Thank you. Sonic and Knuckles. They have been absolutely amazing. But I feel like against CJ Stroud, they're supposed to have Nico Collins back, who right now he's 14th leading receiver in the league. And I just feel like with him and Tank and the way Joe Mixon has been playing, another shout out I need to give. Joe Mixon has been tearing it up in the absence of all their receivers. I feel like their offense is going to come in hot. You know, they've been missing Nico big time. He was their number one guy, and he's back. I feel like that's going to be a huge, huge part that people aren't giving enough credit to. And I read that he was supposed to play. So if he doesn't play, this take is stupid. I'm also going with the over, though, because like I did mention, Lions, their offense has been great. Texans are getting another piece back. So I feel like this over is just an easy over. These are two high-powered offense. This is one of the games I'm actually most excited to watch this week, besides the Steelers game and the Patriots-Bears game. Shout out to Sam. That's probably the game I'm most excited to watch this week. It's going to be fun. I feel like high scoring, a lot of offense, back and forth, great QB play. I just feel like the Lions have been so hot. The Texans are going to come at them, give them a real test, and I think this is the game where it's kind of shaky for them. So Texans and the over.
I'm gonna throw in a little data before I say my crazy take about this game. The Texans are actually second in total defense in the NFL, giving up only 281 yards a game, which was surprising to me when I saw that because I know D'Amico's a defensive coach, but I know last year they had a lot of struggles defensively and they weren't really a good defensive team. But so far this year, they've been really, really good. They've been keeping the ball in front of them, not allowing a lot of big plays, which is what the Lions are really good at. They get a lot of big plays out the run game, and because of that, they're able to play action and then go straight into the passing game and get big, big explosive plays, which not just Amon-Ra, but with also J-Mo and Sam Laporta and all those guys. Man, they just got a bunch of weapons. But here's my take on this game. I don't know if you guys have seen the Texans jerseys that they're wearing. You cannot lose in those. Those are so crispy. The all red with the red chrome helmets are insane. They're not losing in those jerseys. Give me the Texans.
I have just a smidge data. All I will say is that I think the Lions are going to kill them, and I think what solidifies that is the acquisition of Zadarius Smith. He's balling this year, and with Hutchinson down, I think that just kind of doesn't fill the void, but helps with their D-line. So give me the Lions.
This is one of the craziest pieces of data I've ever read in doing this show and otherwise. Since 2021, the Lions are 40-15 against the spread, which is a 72.7, basically 73% clip against the spread over their last 55 games. The Lions cover the spread. They're obviously favorites on the road this week, which is, not the best in terms of betting. Texans have a good barn. Like Nickson said, I like the all red jerseys as well. That could be a factor. Lions have number one rushing offense in the NFL. Texans superstar defensive player, edge rusher / outside linebacker Will Anderson is questionable going into this game. So that could be a concern. Also, Lions just beat the Packers by 10 in kind of a not necessarily a must-win game for the Packers, but like a very important divisional matchup for the Packers in their home barn. And whether or not they can win those early downs, not get them in third and long situations, which the Lions have not been in too often this year. When you're able to run the ball so effectively and then open it up with play action, Sam always talks about, seems like Amon-Ra is open all the time on those 12-yard curl routes. That's just how they win. That's how they get their 55 points a game. And last week they didn't score that much, but they still won by 10. I got to rock with the Lions here until proven otherwise. Like has been said, I think even though that they don't have the best record in the NFL, I think they're the best ball club in the NFL. So I'll take the Lions.
As much as I wanted to always like say to myself, the Lions aren't that good, the Lions aren't that good, partially because Matt Eberflus owned them last year, but they're that fucking good. I mean, the Lions are a very, very, very good team. And I thought last week I just took the over as my lock and it didn't hit. I didn't know it was gonna be 40 degrees and spit and rain the entire time. So that's on me. But I thought the Packers, who are a great team at home, especially within the division, and are shown to be a pretty good squad this year, would kind of give them a taste of their medicine. And the Lions came into Lambeau in a late window game and just took care of business and dominated that start to finish. It's pretty impressive what they're doing. And I don't think anyone's really going to be able to stop that offense until you get an answer for their running backs. Because, and I think that's what's made them so good is once they got David Montgomery and who I'm still mad that my Bears got rid of. Once you get David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs going and you open up those run plays, obviously it keeps defenses guessing all the time. The formula, and it's easier said than done, stop the run game and force Jared Goff to make those uncomfortable throws because that's when Jared Goff becomes Jared Goff. And he starts to throw picks. He starts to take sacks. He starts to fumble the ball. That's what starts happening when you can stop their run, but no one's been able to stop their run this year. And the Texans have been pretty underwhelming. Everyone brought him in as like a top 5 Super Bowl contender, whatnot. CJ Stroud, MVP favorite. He hasn't looked like it. I know Coby was saying he's pretty good statistically, despite what people are thinking. I mean, the kid had a good rookie year, and it's nothing against CJ Stroud, but he went on a whole media tour like he was Tom Brady, and everyone thought he was the next one. When I mean, it's his second year. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Is he a Nico Collins merchant? Maybe. And I'm going full circle here. The last year or so, like I said, every week kind of been saying the Lions aren't that good. They can't be that good and been picking against them whenever I get the chance. I can't do that. I'm not going to let Dan Campbell shove it up my hoop again. Pardon my French, but I got to go with the Lions here. I mean, they're such a wagon right now. And unless the Texans can find a way to magically stop this run, which I think is a key to victory for them. If they want to win this game, you got to stop that run and get Jared Goff throwing and let your ball hawks in the secondary make some plays. I just don't see that run game diminishing that fast. So I'm just gonna go with the Lions here. I don't want to touch the total because as we know, the Lions can do some weird things with their defense, offense. So I guess I'll just take the Lions. Kills me to say it.
Quick point that we didn't really touch on. Joe Mixon is having an amazing year for the Texans.
Mhm.
I just wanted to say that.
They're a lot better of a team when Joe Mixon's on the field.
Yeah.
And Joe Mixon's kids are a lot happier when Joe Mixon's not at home.
Yep.
Tweet that now.
My analysis for this game, I honestly don't think it matters if Nico Collins comes back or not. I'm still not sure if he comes back. And Sam, the Nico Collins merchant statement, that
was a joke.
No, that's probably the truest and funniest thing I've ever heard. I have Nico Collins in fantasy, Brett, and I promise you there's been games where they've been on the 5-yard line and they run pass plays and all 3 of them gone to Nico Collins. Like, no joke. So he low-key is a Nico Collins merchant.
And people said that Nico Collins wasn't good and that Stroud was doing all this with nothing. Nico Collins is nasty.
I didn't believe in Nico Collins when I drafted him. I didn't believe him, but he's been exceptional. But I think that the Texans they're not ready. CJ Stroud hasn't thrown over it. I was looking at his passing yards, and he doesn't even need to pass the ball with Joe Mixon being Joe Mixon, but he hasn't passed over 200 yards in like the last 5 games. And that's crazy. Even when they put up 41 points, he hasn't put up 200 passing yards, that just tells you how good of Joe Mixon is. But I don't think Joe Mixon is going to cook against this Detroit Lions defense. They're probably going to put him at like 50, 70 yards, I would assume. And then after that, I just think they're going to outscore the Texans. They're not going to be able to keep up offensively. If Nico Collins come back, we are all athletes. We all know how it is when you come back from injury. You're not just going to come back on the first game and have 100, 200 yards and be on the same step, especially after missing 4 weeks and having a hamstring injury. So I think that CJ Stroud, if he doesn't throw more than 200 yards, which is hard to do with the receivers that he has without Nico Collins being Nico Collins, is not going to happen. So Detroit Lions spread.
I'm going to pick the Lions here. I just think I also have the over as well, which kind of ties into it. I think it's going to kind of be like a race to 50. Both these teams are going to be firing on all cylinders. The Lions are the hottest team in football, and you have the Texans at home on a Sunday night in these brand new uniforms, hopefully getting some weapons back. It's going to take more than Joe Mixon, so I would expect Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz and John Mechie to also have big games pending the health of the other receivers. But yeah, the Lions just have too much going right now, too much Momo. I would take the over and I'd take the Lions.
It's time for the best part of the show. It's time for the locks of the week, and we'll throw it right back to Martin.
The Kansas City Chiefs have not lost a football game this year, and by no means am I going to say that they're going to lose this week at home against the Denver Broncos. But they also haven't blown a team out this year. And them trying to lay an 8.5 point spread against the Denver Broncos defense, slim to none when you talk about the chances. So I'm taking the Broncos plus 8.5 against Kansas City. The likelihood of this game to be close, not only is it a divisional matchup, but Tommy just put 41-10 in the chat.
I'm pretty sure that was the score that the Broncos let up last week against Baltimore.
No, he didn't let me get there, but thanks for beating me to the punch. Besides the score of the game last week when it was 41-10, Broncos have done a great job of keeping their opponents under 20 points. And Bo Nix, besides looking at like Jaden Daniels, I would say that he has definitely outperformed his expectations when it comes to rookie quarterbacks. Granted, he's played like 3 times as many football games since high school as Anthony Richardson has, but that's a story for another day. So he's got that offense really buzzing. The defense with Pat Surtain, and their front seven has been really, really lethal, and kind of holding down their opponents. So I like this game to remain close. Don't look at last week as a harbinger of things to come. Give me the Broncos plus 8.5 against the Chiefs.
Typically I like to look at trends when I'm looking at locks, because sometimes when you see a spread on the board that seems too easy, it could be a trap. But the few times that I've done that this year, a couple weeks ago, I did. The Eagles were like -3 against the Giants. That was easy win, easy cover. This week, similar thing. Buffalo Bills are going to Indianapolis. Luke Soil. Colts really let me down last week. Joe Flacco did not play very good ball. The Colts offense, I don't think, made it to the red zone one time last week, which is tough to watch. I know Martin was probably very upset to see that result. But the fact that the Bills are only -3.5, I know it's on the road, but the Bills are one of the best teams in football. And you could say this is a must-win game situation for the Colts. I just don't think that they have the horses to compete with the Buffalo Bills. I don't understand why this spread is only 3.5. I will say, because I did research this, to try to be fair, Colts have beaten Buffalo 4 straight times in Lucas Oil. So there's that. But I think the Bills are a wagon. They did narrowly beat the Dolphins last week, but that was a must-win situation for the Dolphins, especially divisional matchup. And the Dolphins, like, when healthy, when Tua is playing, they're still a good regular season team. They win regular season games at a high clip, and they still lost that game. They covered, but I think the Bills are going to take care of business this week against the Colts. This will probably be Joe Flacco's last game starting. Maybe they'll go back to AR if they get blown out this week. There was clearly some situations against the Vikings when the Vikings, blitz more than any other team in the league, and Joe Flacco has zero mobility. So AR probably would have gotten out of some of those and, maybe got some more first downs. But I definitely think that the Bills are going to take care of business this week. And this could be a trap, but it just looked too good on paper that the Bills are only getting -3.5 against the Indianapolis Colts at this point in the season. So give me the Bills on the road, -3.5. Seems like the lock of the week to me.
So I'm going to go ahead and take the Rams. Look, I know Tua's back. I know the Dolphins looked really good against the Bills last week, but I'm really high on the Rams, man. And like I said, when they are healthy, they are a well-oiled machine, especially on that offense, man. They have a lot of those pieces on that offensive side of the ball that won them a Super Bowl. You know, Stafford's playing great ball. Puka Nacua threw a punch last week, so he's probably going to want to, ball out to make up for it. So that Rams defense is young, and they do give up big plays, but they do get, they get a lot of sacks. They have a good young front seven with some good pieces on there. Verse, Young, got the white dude's name, but he's really the other white dude out of FSU. He's really good too. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the Rams at home. I believe it's a pick 'em. I think they're -1, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Rams -1 in LA. I will be there.
I don't know how this line came to be. Might be the new coach effect. So any smart minds out there, you might know what I'm getting to. But the Atlanta Falcons, who don't have any outstanding injuries that I know of right now, although Drake London, I've heard, might have some kind of hip problem. But with the way that offense is going, and my guy Darnell Mooney, I mean, and Big Kirko wakes up dripping like this. They're a good football team right now, and they're fun to watch. The Atlanta Falcons have a good offense going, and they are only 3.5-point favorites against the New Orleans Saints, who are maybe the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL right now, after having the hottest start that we've ever seen in the NFL. After losing to the Panthers last week, losing Chris Olave to another catastrophic injury, concussion. Hate to see that. I love Chris Olave. It's a tough look. I don't see any way how the Falcons don't win this game by like 10 points, especially with the way their offense is playing. And yes, I know you fired Dennis Allen and hired your Rizzy guy or whatever that is. I don't think that's worth cover against the Falcons here. I think the Saints are dog shit. They're tanking for the 1, they're tanking for the 2. But this is just a down bad rebuild year for them, and they're going to try to come back stronger next year. Falcons are leading their division. They've got a playoff berth in the horizon, and who knows? Maybe they'll be able to make some noise. I think the Falcons win this easily. Not much else to say there.
I will hop back in because I am piggybacking. As you can see, it is the locks.
I was wondering what that was.
Do you get it? Do you get it? It's like school locks.
Nice.
I thought it was
I'm
High
gonna
School Musical.
I'm gonna put on my my lockulars.
That one beer is really hitting you, Sean.
I can't remember if Sam said this, but with Olave being injured, that just adds on to the fact.
I did.
Oh, you did? All right. Well, that's probably, I don't know, like how the line's that close, but I think Kirk is progressing. I think the only reason the line's close because it's divisional and that it was a close game last game. I think it was only a 2-point game. But I think all divisional games are going to be close usually, as we saw with the Browns game a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to stick with the Falcons, but I think it will be closer than people think.
I will be going with, and this is the last time I probably ever will take the Jets to do something positive, but I'm taking the Jets Cardinals over of 46. Let me talk about the Jets first. They seem like that they have started to figure it out a little bit with Devontae Adams. They're getting better week by week. I remember they posted some shit like Rome wasn't built in a day. I think that was some bullshit. Like they're just a bad football team trying to be compared to Rome. But I do think they're getting better with Devontae Adams. So far, Devontae Adams in his first game with the Jets, he had 3 catches for 30. Second game, 4 for 54. And then last week, 7 for 91 with his first New York Jets touchdown. So he's starting to figure it out. And a lot of what we're seeing is teams putting their number 1 corner on Devontae, which leaves the man who is 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards and tied for 7th in touchdowns, Garrett Wilson, on the team's number 2 corner. And as much as I hate to say it, Garrett Wilson is a number 1 wide receiver in the league. You can't put your number 2 on him. It's hard to guard both of them, even though it seemed pretty easy because the Jets are fucking terrible. they're getting better and they're really good against bad defenses from what I've seen. And the Cardinals is a perfect week. I mean, we can ask Sean after since he's partially a Cardinals expert, but the Cardinals have a weak ass defense. And this is the type of game where Aaron Rodgers dices you up. You think the Jets might be decent, and then they lose to the Colts next week, and you remember they're the Jets. But I do think that they're going to be able to put up points. So far this year, the Jets average 19 points a game. But with Devontae Adams, they still average 19 points a game. So on an average night from the Jets, you get 19 points. But I think this is going to be a better than average night for them against the Cardinal defense. Now, on the Cardinal side, their offense has been very wishy-washy. Their offense is totally dependent on if they win or not with their terrible defense. So far this year in wins, they averaged 28 points, or it might have been like 27.8 to be exact, but let's round. 28 points. In losses, they average 17. That is an insane drop-off from wins to losses. So their offense has been very wishy-washy, but as I've mentioned, the Jets have been terrible. Their defense has not been what it's supposed to be. They just haven't looked as good, and their team as a whole hasn't looked as good as they were supposed to be, but their defense has been very disappointing this year. They let the Patriots put up like 22 or 24 or whatever. That's disgusting. Not even the Titans let the Patriots, but they held them to 17. Like, that's disgusting. So I think that this is going to be an offensive game. 46 is not that high of a number. Two not great. I won't call the Jets defense shitty because they have so much talent, but two defenses that have not played great this year. And the Jets offense, who has weapons, even though it hasn't played great as a collective, it has weapons. And the Cardinals have that type of defense where, like, all you need is a little bit of talent. You could put up 30, 40. And I think as long as the Cardinals are in this game and in contention to win, then they're going to put up points. If they're getting blown out, then they're not. But the Jets aren't blowing shit out. So I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think 46 was way too low. So Jets, Cardinals over 46.
The Cowboys and the Eagles. It's a big spread, and I'm scared to take it because it's a rivalry game, but I'm going to do it. The Cowboys are – I don't even know where to begin. The Jonathan Mingo's trade, whatever that was.
Cooper Rush is starting.
Cooper Rush starting. Like,
Open invite, Cooper Rush.
Open invite, Cooper Rush. But this organization is just dumpster fire. Like, there's no if I was on this team, there should be no team morale. Like, no one should feel good in the locker room. No one should feel happy about where the direction that this team is headed. So, with that being said, I think the Eagles are gonna come in, and they're, like I said, this is a rivalry game. They're not gonna come in and just take the shit lightly. They're gonna want to beat the Cowboys by 40. They're going to probably try to put as many points as they want. So I think -7 won't be that bad. They'll probably win this game by 14 at least, with Cooper Rush at quarterback as well. But who knows? Last year we saw Cooper Rush put on a little show. So, but Eagles -7 is a lock.
Tell all your friends, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And we'll be back next week with some more ball.
Boom.